I don't want to get sued over here, but I was told specifically, so allegedly here, that it was Mike Lee's camp that did that.
He worked in the Senate with Mike
He's
Lee.
on the staff. Yeah.
Is Mike Lee attached to this? If Senator Lee was sitting right here in my chair across from you right now, what would you say to him? You mentioned something about putting refugee camps on the land, too.
Well, there's a whole shitload of money going into refugee resettlement in the West. If you go to Rando Land on Twitter, you can look at these grants yourself. I mean, it's like 10 million, 4 million, 12 million, all for different refugee resettlement. So when I hear affordable housing, I'm sorry, I guess I'm a conspiracy theorist, but my alarm bells start triggering.
I mean, there's something to it, right? I mean, you're getting attacked for speaking out. I mean, how are you getting attacked?
Well,
Or
I
are they
guess
coming after you?
in some ways, I don't know. I was told that they hired a firm to dig into me, dig dirt up on me or whatever.
Who's they?
I was told specifically it was, I don't want to get sued over here, but I was told specifically, so allegedly here, that it was Mike Lee's camp that did that. You know, whether that's true or not, I don't know. How am I going to confirm that? If you're any good at digging into somebody, you probably don't call them and tell them you're doing it, you know? So that's one way. And then, I don't know, sounds like you got some calls.
Oh yeah, we got some calls. That's for sure. Like I said, that's how I was like, oh man, we must be over the target here because a lot of people are telling me, don't do this interview. Don't do it. But like I said, then when that happens, I feel like I have to do it. But I feel like it's my duty to do it. I wanted to ask you about this gentleman. We kind of looked into him a little bit, but Clint Brown, the president of American Path Initiative, 501c4. I'd never even heard of a 501c4 before. But apparently it is a organization that you don't have to report all of the money. So it's a great way to send dark money to whoever you want. And from what Jeremy, can you give us a quick lowdown on Clint Brown?
Yep, as you said, he's the president of American Path Initiative. He's also responsible for helping get Kash Patel through his FBI director nomination in the Senate, and he worked in the Senate with Mike Lee for over a year.
He worked in the Senate with Mike Lee.
On the staff. Yeah.
Is Mike Lee attached to this president of American Path Initiative,
He can't be
501c4?
because he's a political candidate. He can't be attached to a 501c4.
He's got real ties with this guy though, right? And it'd be a great way.
He has worked with him in the past. Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Do you know about this guy?
I've had Twitter interactions with him. That's about all I know. Besides what you guys just said, I guess maybe
Did he make a burner X account to come after you?
I could never prove that, but it was funny. This rando account was only responding to my tweets. And it was like calling me gay and shit, you know, doing like 20-year-old Brokeback Mountain jokes, that kind of thing. Like, you think I haven't heard that shit? You know, like, what the fuck, dude? The thing about that, dude, when they do that, it drives me crazy too, because here's some film written by some Skittles person, like however many years ago, that's trying to denigrate our culture, and then we've absorbed it into our own lexicon. You know, that annoys me. But other than that, that's not new. Well, this account, eventually, after I went and looked at it and looked at all the replies, eventually I just said, "Is this you, Clint?" And it replied, "No," which is a funny way. I think if I was running a burner, I'd probably, and again, I don't know, right? I'm just speculating. I have no idea. I could never prove this, not even necessarily attempting to, but I would probably say something like, "Who the fuck is Braxton?" or whatever. I'd probably be smarter about it than to just write no. And then it deleted itself right after that.
I do want to ask, if Senator Lee was sitting right here in my chair across from you right now, what would you say to him?
I'd say what's wrong with the process that we have in place, and it seems like you're trying to ride the popularity of Trump to ram through a pet issue, and I'd like an explanation for why that is.
Well, we reached out to his office. We'll probably offer him a slot here to give him the opportunity to tell his side, even though it's already all over the place. I think this is the first time he spoke on a fairly decent sized platform, correct?
I did Jocko's a couple years ago.
You did.
Yeah.
Cool. But well, Braxton, like I said, I really appreciate you coming down here. I think it's very honorable, the fight that you're putting up, and it seems like the majority of America is behind you and not behind the politicians. I wish there was more politicians other than Ryan Zinke fighting this, but doesn't look like there is, according to you.
Well, at least on the right-wing side.
One more thing. We just got some news that came in. Can you read that off, Jeremy?
Trump administration to end protections for 58 million acres of national forests. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said the Clinton-era ruling barring road construction and logging was outdated and absurd.
Well,
So there goes 58 million acres. Is that what that means?
Well, it depends. You have to be careful not to lean into hysteria. The left is good at that. Extraction is covered under FLTMA, and can and should be done responsibly. The old way they used to say it is graze it, log it, or watch it burn. It can and should be done. It just needs to be done responsibly. And so this is another one of these places where I'd like to see the map, because I don't know who put out the very first map that everybody was reacting to, but if you know the areas, some of the areas that were designated for logging were stuff like juniper trees. And as a lover of mule deer, I hope they cut more of those, but you're not logging junipers. So I want to know exactly which sections and how it's going to be done, but yeah, you should log. I mean, you have to, really. Some people, we have wilderness areas. Now, wilderness,
So that may not be a bad thing.
no, maybe not.
That may not, but it says giving up protections, correct?
Yeah, but so it could be bad. You just have to be able to identify the plots in order to make the decision. Some areas do need to be logged 100%. When it came question and answer time, I got a mic and was just like, I actually don't think you guys understand the difference between morals and laws at all. And I presented a scenario that was basically, if a deer is stuck in a fence, if you shoot it without permission, you're breaking the law. But if you leave this thing whose leg is completely ripped up and is going to die anyway to suffer, then you've cut against your morality. So there's just a real easy delineation between the two things. And I was saying, you guys are trying to argue that ethics are foisted on us by laws, and I think the exact opposite is true. Laws should reflect our ethics and morals. So after presenting that, some people came to me and said, we want you to go to DC and lobby. Advocate. I don't even know what the right term is. Okay. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Whatever the hell the right term is, either lobby or advocacy. So I went and presented my case to our representatives in DC, those that I could get FaceTime with, which was, at that time was basically all of them or their high up staff people, which is who you really want to talk to anyway, for the most part. And at one point I'm in Lee's office, and I don't want to get any family in trouble, but one of his staffers ends up, because we're arguing about this transfer idea. And I was saying, for all the reasons I just mentioned, I don't think it's a good idea. And they pointed to, basically they were calling me an absolutist like they're doing now, which I'll just happily wear at this
What's
point.
an absolutist?
That I don't want them to take any of it now. I don't trust them with an anchor, So they're calling me an absolutist. It's another way of calling me an extremist, and others. It's not just me. There's plenty of people that are out there saying this stuff. I mean, Cameron Haynes is saying this stuff. He's got a huge platform,
It seems like anybody that's big in hunting, outdoors, fishing, they're all beating to the same drum here. So
Yeah.
there's something to it.
Totally. If you've proven yourself untrustworthy, why would I trust you with even an inch, right? That's kind of my viewpoint on it. So they get up and they got an actual plot map of Utah out, and they pointed at a parcel, and they said, well, what about a parcel like this? Why can't we just have this transferred? And I said, I know the family that runs cattle on that personally. They're a friend of mine. So you'd be taking food and money out of their pocket if you did this. And at least with the staff, that didn't go over particularly well. I'm not saying it embarrassed them, but it probably did, So that was my first interaction with the guy, who, by the way, I thought was a pretty decent guy otherwise. We disagree strongly on this one thing, but I never thought he was a bad guy. I mean, I've done interviews like 6 months ago saying, I think he's a good guy. We just disagree, and I think you're making a huge mistake. But if you're hiring people to look into me, I don't know about the good guy thing anymore. My opinion's starting to... And I think he probably still is a good guy. There's just something going on here. So that's kind of where it started. And then I ended up leaving that organization because I had begged them not to let this thing become a liberals who hunt organization, or else it'd be absolutely doomed. And that's what they did. Dude,
You didn't want to politicize it.
yeah, you cannot politicize this issue, especially as a liberal, because it's the conservatives in Utah that want it, to a degree, as far as the politicians go. In fact, while I was on that trip, one of the guys from that organization, way up in the leadership there, we were at a dinner, and he was essentially, he might have even straight up used the term, but he was calling me a baby killer, because he used to be with one of these other liberal orgs that goes over to war-torn areas, and so he's doing like the meme, baby killer meme. So that was kind of, at that point, I was like, all right, if you guys are this ridiculous, I'm not interested in staying. So then I've just been kind of on my own trying to educate people whenever the subject comes up.
Are there any politicians that are against the transfer?
Yeah, Ryan Zinke has been great.
He's a SEAL. He's a SEAL he's a congressman out of Montana, right?
He is, yep.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.